hundreds of acres of jungle getting deforested just to build like, eco-conscious developments. And there's just like, people like cutting out the jungle, planting tree palms and call it, eco-conscious. And that's just like all this party crowd that is just like killing themselves and like, wait, what happened to my home? I had this feeling that there was the sense of home, like, it was taken away from you. We intentionally, all of us who lived there, we chose to make this place our home, and that was just like stolen from us.
Today, I'm thrilled to chat with Marat Omarov, the visionary behind the Ark, a regenerative village in Costa Rica that's shaking up how we live. Picture eating fresh fruit from the land, sharing prosperity with your community, and feeling truly connected in a world where loneliness is silently wrecking our health. Marat left a high powered career to build this health focused haven, and we'll explore how the Ark's approach can inspire anyone craving cleaner food, less stress, and deeper bonds. Let's dive in. Good afternoon, Marat. Thank you so much for taking the time to join me today.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you. Very happy to be here.
Yeah, it's been great to talk with you offline, and I'm excited because we connected offline and online, offline, and what you're doing is pretty interesting. That I've never really talked to anyone that's had this sort of just approach it from the business side and just for your own personal life. So starting in the background, like I wanted to see if you could maybe take us to the moment where maybe you realized, okay, modern life, it's too much of a rush. I'm isolated a lot. It's not good for my health to be in the situation I'm in. So, like, what sparked the idea for the Ark?
Pandemic.
Yeah, 2020.
As 2020 and like 2021. At that time, 2020, I was living in Tulum. I moved to Tulum in the beginning of Tulum, Mexico, in the beginning of 2018. The like I remember my birthday is in June, so I remember celebrating my birthday in Tulum in June 2020. Pandemic was all over it. It's bad to say in a sense, but for people living, I believe, in this kind of like tropical destinations, like it was one of the best times. No tourists, everything is closed, and it's just like I don't know if you've been to Tulum, but it's just like, white sand beach, like Caribbean, like beautiful, gorgeous. Honestly, the most beautiful beach I personally seen in my life, and I've seen a lot. And it's just for yourself, there are no tourists. We're just like living this life, and we were like, wow. I was like, wow, this is my home. I love it so much. The whole world stopped. I stopped reading news. I think it was March 2020 when I decided that I'm not going to be ever reading news ever again. Because you remember how it started, right? It's just like a lot of misinformation and just like a lot of stress, all of that. Yeah, in June, I'm like, wow, this is amazing. This is perfect. And then in September 2020, Mexico decides to open Tulum for tourists. And it converts into the party destination of the world. And Joe, it's the one moment, like, developers flooded it. It was already, of course, like developing and growing. It's like, one of the most desired tourist destinations in the world. But it was kind of growing steady. And there's just like September 2020, just like money flooded. Everybody's just like, and people, I don't know, I believe you spoke to many people who differently reacted to what pandemic was, right? And many people, I personally have seen a lot of people who considered it as end of the world, and for some strange reason they decided that if the world is ending they decide to die before it's going to happen, and the way they are doing it through is through booze and drugs.
Sure.
And I've seen that all in Tulum, and I was like, wait a second, that paradise that we all love, and it's just like now acres and hundreds of acres of jungle getting deforested just to build like eco-conscious developments. And there's just like people like cutting out the jungle, planting tree palms and call it eco-conscious. And that's just like all this party crowd that is just like killing themselves and like, wait, what happened to my home? And I went to like deep depression that I went into like from the end of 2020 till maybe like May 21. And it was, and honestly, it just like I would never in my life ever before I could put what is a depression And at that moment, I realized that, like, whenever you experienced it, you will never forget this feeling. And it was maybe mixed because I had COVID maybe like 5 times.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
There you go, part of that. But also, like, I had this feeling that there was the sense of home, like, it was taking away from you. We intentionally, all of us who lived there, we chose to make this place our home, and that was just like stolen from us, and you could not do anything anymore about it. And that's when I realized that I have to multiply my knowledge of this 3D world, or my hard skills, the like project management skills and everything that I learned from the past, and multiply it towards like my new consciousness, my new me, like, whom I became thanks to Mexico, thanks to this free life that I experienced. And to do something different where, I will prove that real estate development can bring a positive change and not necessarily destroy nature, and that we can live as together, because we got lost, right? Like in this pandemic, and I was just like, wait a second, we can live differently, and this, like, whatever changes in the world are going to happen don't have to affect us. So yeah, that's what led to the arc.
Sure. No, I remember there's a lot of companies that are like, we're never going back to work ever, and just consider we're shut down for, or you're going to work remotely forever. And obviously, a lot of it was incorrect at the time. They didn't know, but it's very interesting because you paint a vivid picture of how it probably became so peaceful and quiet. And now what you see on the news about Tulum and other destinations, it's the opposite, right?
Yeah.
Was it something that obviously depression that you experienced? Was there other drains on your health that occurred at the time that you saw in this lifestyle, that sort of helped you shape what you're doing at the Arc?
I was living very healthy life in general, like, already while I was living in Mexico. But it was also like seeing more of like the suffering of others rather than my own, where I like realized that, like, wow, this is going to a very wrong direction. Everything that is happening with the world is like we are disconnected from each other, disconnected from nature, right? But it wasn't like, like one morning a wake up call. It was rather like a building up, like me living in this beautiful tropical destination, and just like, wow, that's how you're supposed to live. Not necessarily in tropics. We can choose, like, the environments. Somebody loves mountains, somebody loves beach, and like somebody loves the desert. But to live in nature and not to live in the cubicle, in the concrete building, where you don't know your neighbors. uh, and it's like we all kind of feel it, but we don't have time to put it into words, because it's just like the hustle culture just like pushes you forward all the time, promising to you that capitalistic gains are going to erase everything, and it's just like you're gonna get that, like, American dream, and that like big buck, and then, like, then you're gonna be happy. But the truth is, it's not, right? And that's what we feel now. And I believe, like, many guests on your podcast, and you yourself, you like, that's why we're doing what we're doing, right? Right? Like sharing this knowledge.
Absolutely. And I know Costa Rica is become more popular. I know a few people that have moved down there and developed, not to the scale you're doing, but built their own house, or a vacation rental, something like that. So how do you lead from Tulum to Costa Rica? Is it through someone you met, or research online? Like, why did you pick there? Obviously, it's clean air, fresh produce, and
Yeah, yeah.
a great place as an alternative.
Well, the moment when I decided that, like, I want to create something of that sort, it was not like, like, oh, I'm looking for that piece of land and that is what it has to have. It was like more like a general idea. So I went to other locations in Mexico, and I was like, nothing was kind of, ringing the bell. And Costa Rica for me was always kind of a calling, even before living in Mexico. I was like, for everything that we know Costa Rica is famous of, right? Like, it's 98% clean energy, the first tropical country that reversed deforestation. It's like 54% of the country are natural reserves. You're like hearing a lot of these things, and me, for all my life, I was pretty much like eco aware. And I was like maybe it's and for me it was clear. I want to be in Latin America. For me, just like I love Latin culture. I just love it. I love it. I love it. And I love also being close proximity to the United States. It's like, Costa Rica is like strategically close located. You fly to Europe in 9 hours. So, there are like many factors like that. And I was like, okay, let me go and check it out. And I just spoke to some friends, and they're like, listen, if you're going to Costa Rica, Santa Teresa is the place. Knowing what you are, like what I am, and like what you're looking for, Santa Teresa is the place. And I came here, and I went to other places. I went to Nosara, I went to Tamarindo. I was just like, yeah. And then I came to Santa. I was like, it is a place. It is that place. Yeah, and then just like honestly, like the way I found land was very accidental. Well, if you believe in accidents. It was like, we went with my friend, and we searched all over here, and nothing was just like, it was May 21. So the prices were the peak here. They were insane. Insane prices. We were like looking at, I was like, man, this is not gonna work. This is the prices are crazy. It's just like, I'm like, no. And this is like literally, it was like last breakfast that we had here, and we just like shared the table in one of the places in cafes for breakfast. It's just like, communal table, like, you just started chit-chatting with guys, and they're like, yeah, we also came like 8 months ago, and we were looking for land, and nothing was good, but we found that one land that's beautiful, and like, documents are clean, everything's good. And I'm looking, and we have 1 hour before the flight. I'm like, can you take us? Yeah, sure, yeah, of course. Like, let's go. And we're just like literally before the airport, we're passing by, and we're coming to this immense pasture land. And the light, and just like it was like a rainy day, but we're like, crawling up the mountain, and that was just like beautiful opening. Damn. I was like, what, do you know the size? They're like 200 acres. I'm like, damn it, 200 acres. This is like a lot of land. And the moment we left, I was like, this is it. Like, I was never thinking that the arc is going to be that size. At that time, it was not having yet the name, the arc, but it was just, I was like, I'm going to take like, 2 acres, 5 acres. So like, something with modest, and 200 acres. I was like, wait a second. But yeah, that's where we are now.
How far is it from the airport? Like if someone's,
Like
you know,
we're 15 minutes now, the new airport, we're like
sure.
15 minutes drive. At that time, it was like 1 hour drive.
So okay, yeah, exactly, that makes sense. So what's the next step? Like, okay, so you decide this is it. This is a lot more land than I expected. How do you make that shift from Mexico to Costa Rica and continue to build this?
Well, that was like I went back, and I started talking to the landowners, and the Costa Rican family. They had this land since 1966. So out of our 200 acres, 140 acres were deforested to make it a cattle ranch. Many people don't know, like between 60s and East, Costa Rica was like 60% deforested. Imagine, because of cattle ranches, caused an insane in the 80s, Costa Rica experienced the largest like droughts and ecological collapse because of this deforestation. So they were the country that realized that like we have to do something back, and so that's why they started reforestation. But there are still a lot of like cattle ranch farms, and so our land was affected by that. So practically 60 years it was a cattle raising farm. And also we have 60 acres of the jungle. So like I started talking to this family, and I'm like, guys, listen, like I do not have money to buy 200 acres of land. Like, I do have money, but like not that type of money. And yeah, and we started these negotiations with them. I was just like, let me just drop like to see like what's possible. And like I made the concept at that time with my ex-partner, yeah, ex-business partner, and with my friend. And we just started, I was just like, let's start just dreaming of like, what is this? If you imagine of like your wildest dreams, what is the perfect place where you would like to live in nature? How will it look like? What is it going to have? Like, what components shall it have? And of course, like, the first plans that we like, the napkin drawings and everything from what it is now, it's like, The distance is vast, but that's where it was born. And we just like made a presentation, and we're like, okay, let's just go back to Costa Rica and talk to these guys. And we sat with them, and it took us 10 months, 10 months to negotiate due diligence, just like talking contract. Yes, but it went like, it resulted in a very different model that what the arc is, aside of like, us as the arc, as the project, just purchasing the land from this family. I offered them also 25% of the profit from all the businesses that we're going to create. And this became like a foundational stone, and like in what we're doing, like, in our philosophy, that projects like us, and I'm a foreigner here, I'm from Kazakhstan. But projects like us, like whoever goes to other countries, like, we shall not displace local population. It's like if they had this land for 60 years, it was like their bread. And that's what I always say, like the arc is this capitalism through the inversion point. Sorry, it is like the bridge through the inversion point of this between capitalism and a post-capitalistic world. And what capitalism would do, right? It would negotiate till the end to buy land as cheap as possible, will kick place the locals, and will sell the land expensive. Right? So like what we believe like regenerative project would do is just like to sit and take the people who had this land for so many years as equal stakeholders and keep them forever with you, and like obviously have like a fair recompensation. And whenever I say that, like when like, and like whenever I say like, yeah, I gave 25% of profits forever to this family, and people say, why? And then like, then you see like, that it's a great opening. Well, I love when people are asking why, because then it gives us, I mean, the arc, or me personally, the chance to open up towards the philosophy of why we should be doing this, right? And there's just like not like invite into this worldview, which is a very different worldview from the economical books that we read of like Jack Welch, Corporate America.
Yeah, yeah, it's a big number, 25.
Yeah, it's a big number. It's not like, like somehow like we're giving 3%,
Yeah,
it's a quarter of the profits, and they're not doing, I mean, they're with us, but they're not active participants. They're
passive.
they're
Yeah,
just, yeah, they're just passive land. They had this land and nothing.
it's like you weren't expecting 200 acres, but just now 25%, right? Like it's numbers you weren't
Exactly.
ready for.
Yeah.
So, but when you mention like regenerative living, though, what does that look like day to day? So, someone you finally get open, right, and you're open for business. What exactly the snapshot of when you opened? What did that look like?
It took us, of course, like, it's from 21. Now it's like we are 4 years young. And this is the first year when we are truly living this life. And this is like first 3 years were like, okay, I was like, we are working towards building something that sounds like a dream. And some people call it Disneyland. Because like, when you tell it like, and we're gonna have this and this and this, people like, this is like a lot. But it was like three tough, incredibly tough, horrible years of like, suffering, of questioning yourself, questioning your faith, questioning your worth, questioning like, can I do this? Is it like, do people really need it? And now this regenerative living looks like we have a 15-acre farm. We have like a beautiful shala where we are having like daily movement classes, like inspiring conversation. We're now building a community kitchen, so like we're already having a lot of like farm to table dinners. So it's like every Saturday we have a volunteer farm day, so we all gather on the farm to work with the soil. So like we eat from the farm, and this is from the farm that's just like not that like from the farm, from the farm to like I come and I pick and I eat in the moment.
Yeah,
And it's a very deep, and it's the farm that we know that it's not just like, oh, it's an organic farm. No, no, we know because we are growing this thing.
yeah,
And also it's a regenerative. I always like, because it's not very like it's not a word that you say day to day to each other, right? Like it's not a familiar word. We're still like, what is it? So I always invite people to like reflect on the word regeneration, of repairing or fixing, restoring. Right. So, and then like, then the next question is like, so what do we feel requires regeneration in the modern living. And normally it's always like goes to nature. Oh yeah, nature, of course. Yeah, because we all like kind of innately believe that like, yeah, we kind of dropped the ball with taking care of nature in the last like century, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Like mass like biodiversity loss and everything. So we're like, yeah, nature. And then like what else? And then when you invite people to reflect, and then maybe I hope when this is gonna go air, maybe people who are listening, I'm intentionally speaking a little bit longer so people can reflect and think for the answers for themselves. Because then when I'm questioning this, some people are go like, healthcare. I'm like, oh yeah, true. Like healthcare requires regeneration. No conventional medicine is like, it's not working. The COVID was this like kind of indication, right? Like when there are like so many like opposing opinions. Oops. Opposing opinions. And we felt it, right? Like in the contemporary medicine kind of there's like something that's sketchy. Like, so is pharma pushing this too hard? Like, what's happening there? And like, people, I love this study where it says like, 80% throw out the prescriptions after they go out from the doctor's office. And then it's just like it's a
It's a
big
big
study
number.
actually. It's like it's a big number because people just like, and this study actually resulted in like doctors looking into like, so what do they like, people actually want attention and human connection rather than a solution as a farm solution. People want somebody to listen to them and just like, to be like to reflect on like, well, that's what's happening with me. But anyway, like, so healthcare requires regeneration. And then what else? Educational system, right? Like our educational models, like it's not working, so it needs fixing as well. So like there are like these kind of, and then human connection where we're separated, right? So like there is this four kind of axis, four pillars, right? And that's what they're addressing to at the arc. So it's like our regenerative living not only looks like, oh, I'm just going and picking up cucumbers from the farm. No, but now we have a school, and this is school was like, rooted in like community education and self-guiding educating principles. And this is like, when kids are learning in the school, and we don't call it a school, actually, we call it a space for conscious learning. But for the sake of the podcast, let's call it school. So like
Yes.
when kids are going to the school and then like, they see what they're learning there, and then they're stepping out from the school and they're going into the community, and they feel and see the same what is practiced there. So that's how the regenerative living looks like.
So, but the average person, like, okay, so someone who is reading about you online and they're like, okay, school, okay, so maybe people with kids, like elderly, healthcare, whatever their basic needs are. What is is there an average person that lives at the Ark, or is it sort of runs the gamut? Is there a certain region of the world that attracts to Costa Rica more
Yeah.
than others?
We like I tend to say that we don't have a profile, and I believe it's a good thing. We have people from 16 countries as of now, and these are very diverse countries. Like, of course, it's like traditional, like US, Canada, like we have people from Liechtenstein, from Israel, from Saudi Arabia, from Switzerland, Argentina, Brazil. So, like, there is no pattern. We have people who are singles, like our youngest adult is 34, the most grown up is 60. We have 17 kids from 3 years young up to 16 years young. So, there is no
Yeah.
pattern. We have like singles with kids, singles without kids, and we have straight, we have queer, we have different races and different things. But I think what unites us is humanity. And that's what we also want to be, because we are the ark, right? It's like a name that you have to really carry, like with pride. And being the ark, we want to like embody it, and we want to be like all inclusive, and like we want to also like make people understand that we just have to be one with each other and with nature. And this is like, we shall not have this separation on who is who. And that's why I believe this, like not having this like general pattern of like, oh, we're only families.
Hmm.
No. And that's what it makes it great. And then what are if we look into it, like into the root of it, so like what is it being a human? Like this regenerative human, right? It's just like, okay, what you have to take nature as an equal stakeholder, as an We were just talking yesterday with someone who came to visit us from Peru, from the Sacred Valley. They have this. It's a first precedent in the world where in Peru a river got a name and like a passport, and it became like it's considered as a living entity. with its own rights. And I was like, this is genius. Like,
Yeah.
like because that's like rewires, like you're rewiring your consciousness towards like taking an equal is it's an equal partner. That's it. Like, it's a living being. You cannot just now, like, it has its own rights, and like this violation of these rights is actually a crime. And this is like we're like we have a river in the archive. Like, let's do that. We shall do that. And like, and be this a showcase, like, just like, we have to be extreme. It's like, how do you call this thing? I don't remember when you like a pendulum. When you have a
Hmm.
pendulum into one extreme and then you let it go and then it goes to another extreme,
Hmm.
right? And then like it slowly finds the balance. Like I believe, and many of us believe that just like this pendulum is here now, just like it's like the tense, it's so tense, and like we have to now, whenever we're letting go, we have to be as extreme. So giving up rights and considering River a human being or like a living being is an extreme, right? In a sense. But then this extreme is gonna showcase that it's just like, okay, let's just pay attention to that. So that's what unites us, like, it unites us like this taking nature as an equal stakeholder and how we want to raise kids, what kind of education, what kind of human beings we want to facilitate to grow.
Yeah.
How does the future change makers of the world or change contributors of the world look like, right? They're like self-centered individuals, very emotionally aware, but like at the same time connected with each other and not separating humanity on like, classes, races, or whatever, and like they're not contributing to the world conflicts, and they actually not they consider health as all encompassing health. It's like financial health, it's a spiritual health, it's a physical health, it's a communal health, right? It's like it's not just like, oh, I'm feeling great and like I'm wired all the time, right? So that is the thing. So like that's what unites us, and that's who we are.
And so day to day, though, it's going to differ, right? So you have a child in school, maybe the person who's in their 60s is right. Does an average day ever occur there, or is it sort of what you make it each day?
Whatever you make it each day. And it's also like it's important to understand that Santa Teresa is also like a very desirable and very popular tourist destination, and it's intentionally the place was chosen here because I also love the transition transactional kind of place, like where people are coming and going. So we're also economical model, right? It's not just like it's not an utopia. It's important to understand. It's not like some crazy people living on top of the mountain and they don't talk to anyone, and they most probably they all wear white.
Right.
That's not who we are, right? It's like we're regular beings. People, nor people, or a lot of, or majority of the people, they work online. They also like they are somehow maybe involved with the arc. Like we're doing something together. So like we have people who are involved in the construction. We have people who are involved as like harvest managers or who give classes, like yoga or like whatsoever. Like being part of the team, part of like this cooperative village. And then it's like, so then it depends. But normally we are pretty all like in town in general, in Santa Teresa. We're a surf town. So it's like an early risers. People wake up at like 5, you go catch waves. And we go to sleep early. So like it's pretty much we're like living in the good circadian rhythm. Like the sunset is at 6. So like by 7 it's dark. 8, you're like, okay, I'm ready to go to sleep.
Yeah.
So it's also like it contributes to this like healthy lifestyle of like physical healthy lifestyle, like which also affects your like mental state. Yep.
Well, that's I was gonna because I was gonna ask, like, are people maybe feeling like cut off from? But now that makes total sense that you're having people just emanate out into the local town and free flow back and forth, so they can get that sort of interaction with people outside of the village and be able to feel like, okay, I'm not just living here on these acres, but
Yeah.
I'm actually I can go surfing, whatever it might be, and interact with those people that are the locals.
Yeah, exactly. And also it's also one other thing which is important. It's like we're not a closed gated community. It's not like, Boca Raton situation. It's an open gated concept where whoever wants to come and visit and hang, like people are just coming and spending time. So it's a very like mixed situation. That's also we believe the change we have to bring, like not to we call it not to build the walls but rather to build bridges. So just like, yeah, like, okay, you live in this and this is great, but also like you have to bring something to the table for the local community. Like you have to offer something. For instance, like one of the things which we did, we're now offering all our regular programming by donation without minimum donation. So people come and pay whatever they feel or whatever they can. So it's not like, oh, it's a $40 class. No, like you can pay five today, you five today. You were inspired and you had a breakthrough, you want to pay 50, pay 50. But this creates like this these barriers between like, oh, this is like, elitist situation that just like these people can only afford. No, whomever can afford. And we see how much it's way more genuinely accepted by everyone, not necessarily by locals. It's not that like, oh, we're doing this to be like, to make this favor to someone. No, it's like for everyone, honestly. How many classes a week you really want to attend that cost like, $30, $40? Then you're like, okay, my bill for my healthy lifestyle is actually unhealthy.
That's a good point. How about like when you have people that are maybe like you're trying to get people to have shared values, of course, to a degree. What about conflicts amongst people? Like,
Yeah.
oh, I didn't know my kid was going to learn this in school, or I didn't know we were going to have to do this or that. How do you sort of handle that? Is there one sort of overarching, I don't want to say rule or rules, but how do you sort of keep conflicts at bay from with people that might have disagreements?
Yeah, that's a good. It's always like there is a joke, like what is the problem of intentional communities? Humans.
Exactly.
It's like we're humans, and conflict it's a part of life, right? It's also and being completely honest. We don't call ourselves intentional community. I personally not exactly liking this wording, and many people in the arc as well, because it feels immediately like a little bit culty. And people who are into intentional communities, I have a feeling there is a little bit of like this culty vibe, like, and we don't want to be that. We don't have any pattern towards like what you have to eat. Like we have vegans, vegetarians, carnivores, omnivores, whatever, and we think of ourselves very much of like Switzerland in a sense. There is like, and we are like everything has a place to be, and therefore like but also this living in a sense in this kind of environment, it's a personal growth elevator, and personal growth cannot go through like it's not about who said that, was like it's like not meditating on top of the mountain, but like crying in the darkest moments of your soul. That's when you have like this spiritual kind of breakthroughs. And that's what it is. It's like it reveals a lot, because you said it right. It's like you like in the usual environment, like you buy a house somewhere, and most probably maybe it's totally fine as well that you don't know your neighbors. I know my friends who live in LA, and like they live in Venice, and I'm like, whenever I'm visiting, I'm like, so who lives around? I don't know.
Yeah. That's accurate.
Never.
That's accurate. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like, and so it's like maybe somebody like just like your closest guy who lives here and there, just because like sometimes you just said like you see them in the morning, you're like, yo, what's up? All good to go. And they're like living here, you would be like okay, no, these are the people with whom I'm interacting day to day. I'm living, not living with them, like we all have individual houses, but like you're interacting, and then it's also like maybe you're creating something together with them, you are working in the same environment. Then we have like regular every 2 weeks we call it an alignment circle, like a resident circle. So we sit in the circle every 2 weeks, and especially for that, like this is like conflict kind of to steam out something. And like one other big problems of intentional communities is dogs, pets in general.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's just like
I can
why
imagine.
communities fail, dogs. And it's just like we have now, I think we have more dogs than we have humans. And it's just like, but and there are questions like, oh, hey, like so, like hey, a dog came to me, like we have three horses living, and then like free roaming, and just like like they have like kind of their space, but sometimes they're like very smart. They escape, and then they go, and then like that horse and like came and they ate my mango trees, and then like they shit it in my pool. So like there are things. The only thing is that being humans, we have this innate ability to just talk and to work on ourselves. And this constant work on ourselves when this remember the four agreements book, right? Like it's like don't take anything personally, and this is like something that I think we have to all remember all the time. It's just like whatever people are sharing is not a personal attack. Just like we're just sharing, and we all have something. It's never about you, right? We all have something that we're carrying. There was a bad day or something. So these circles really help, and we have like team circles, we have resident circles. It's really not something that I was used to when I'm from Kazakhstan, so I pretty much was brought up in a very like hierarchical structure. So circles, no, there's like there's always a person that's just like transmits, and everybody has to listen and be agree by default. And circle is like everyone is equal. So there we go. Let's talk. So yeah, that's I think this is very helpful to like resolve like day-to-day situations.
That's cool. So I think it was on your site, no pressure, just possibilities approach.
Yeah, yeah.
How about someone who's like, okay, I'm just want to kind of dip my toes in this and see what the arc's about. What does that look like compared to someone that's like all in? Like, are they building their own house? Is there trades that, people that come and help? I'm assuming you have everything dialed in locally with contractors and roofer, whatever that might be. But how does it look from someone that's like just checking it out to like, I'm all in?
Yeah. It's we call it nothing is an obligation, everything is an opportunity. And yeah, like people can come and visit. We have like hospitality program running, so people can just come and visit for as long as they want to do that, and just like and enjoy this kind of lifestyle and to understand that. And it's a kind of thing like imagine you're coming for like a vacation with a family, and then you just like rent a house. So it's a normal house where you would stay, and then you would be like included into the village chat. So imagine, and there's like village chat. It has like a bunch of people, and they're just like, hey, every day that's our like daily schedule of like of events. Everyone are welcome to join. So you're just coming, and they're just like you're finding yourself at a farm to table dinner, and just like with strangers that like you're immediately immersed into great conversations. You're like, wow, like you want to join tomorrow for like a volunteer day? Like, "Yeah, why not? Yeah, like and it's like it's immediately like a lot of events. So like after a week, you're gonna be like, wow, this is fun. So this will be the best way. And of course, there are like work stay exchange, and we're now opening artist residencies. So there are like many different modalities depending on like on what people want to experience and what they're searching.
So, if someone is going to move there and they want to live there full time, how does it work with okay, do I need to build a house? Are there existing properties that they can purchase already?
You can well, there are different modalities. You can either build build a house, like buy a land, build a house. There is an option where like you can buy. We even sell fractional ownership. So like for instance, if you decide to come only like month a year, so you're like I don't want to have a full property for that. So you just like buy a fractional ownership, and you can stay part of the year. You can buy existing houses, and now we're still starting selling like houses that like we're going to pre-build for people. So
Mm.
yes, like whatever works, it's just like there is no some rule.
No, that's amazing. And the nearest airport is what again?
It's San Jose, like the
Okay. Oh
capital,
yeah,
and
yeah.
then you
That's a
fly from San Jose, like like a jumper plane for like
okay.
20 minutes, and it's like called Kobano.
Got it. Got it. Okay. So when you're building this, what I mean, again, you mentioned the napkin for your time for like everything that changed, business partners come and go. What's been the toughest challenge, and how did you sort of push through?
Rewind to 2022. Remember, the pandemic was officially over, and we signed the contract in February 22. And I think in March it was declared that it's over.
Hmm.
And the market plummeted, and people started traveling, and people rushed back to live in the cities. I was like, okay. Like I started investing, and along the lines, it's just like already like summer 22, and people are extensively traveling. Everyone's enjoying like European summer. And I'm like building a farm and building like making engineering for the pipes, and I'm like for like water, and I'm like what am I doing? I'm like and I remember also like the hype of like I was personally investing a lot in the stock market. I believe it was January 22 when stock market started like crashing after like this kind of hype of 2020, 21. So like my positions are losing, and I keep selling my stocks to keep financing the ARC. I'm by the end of 22, I'm cringing in my bed, and I'm like, shit, what have I done? Like nobody needs it anymore. The market is not there. There are no sales till 2024. We had no sales. So like 22, 23, I'm running it all on my own funds, my financing. It's just like and it's like it's a development. It's also like it's a never ending, like never stopping machine. Like, you can stop, of course, but then like, you're stopping. So I'm selling my real estate, I'm selling my positions, and I like at the end of 22, I'm like, wow, dude, you really screwed it. Like you like I was like, what have I done with my life? It was like the darkest moments of my soul. 23 the same, and it like we have an interest, but it's never yet like catchy, and it was not as refined as you see the arc now. It was like, the beginnings. We're still finding what it is, what like really people want. And it's constantly changing. It's a post-pandemic world that just appeared, right? So like people still don't understand what's gonna happen. So 22, 23 were extremely tough. And I believe that one thing that really like well, I definitely will say like, of course, like meditation and like, mindfulness practices. And meditation saved my life several times and my mental health. um, I maybe you don't know, like I went. Well, I was given to a military school when I was 14. And it felt like jail. I won't lie to you. And it was like, my personal thing. Like I remember, it was my father's dream for him to go to the military school. So as every respectful father is fulfilling, he was fulfilling his dreams through his son.
Yeah.
So
Thank you.
he was like, yeah, so thank you, Dad. And like age of 14, I'm in this military school and I was a very creative boy. And in military school, everything is like,
Structure.
yeah, and I was like, I was round, let's say so. And military is doing square for you because squares have to like get it. And I was like, wow. And I remember after a month being there, I was just like crying. I was like, Dad, take me out from here. I know I cannot. I don't want to do that. And he's like, he did what any other respectful dad would do, which is like tricking his son. And he's like, I can take you out from here, but you're gonna be coward for the rest of your life. I don't know if I can swear in, but anyway, F world, or I was like, damn it. And he's like, and he used all the horrible psychological tricks that he could use. He's like, how are you going to go back to your previous school? How are you gonna look like what the girls are gonna say? That you gave up?
Mm.
And I enjoyed. I like now I can laugh about it after like several ayahuascas and like hours and hundreds of hours of therapy. I can laugh
Yeah.
about it, but it
Right.
was not funny. Like it contributed a lot to like there were a lot of like it's a big psychological trauma that I had to carry with me for the rest of my life. But what it gave me in the moment, and I have to be fair here, it gave me an insane strength and resilience. Because you know what? Because like I was like there, I was like, okay, so I'm here for the next 3 years of my life. I cannot get out of this boat. Nobody's gonna take me away from here. I'm here, and I have to just pull it. I'll just have to do it. And this kind of mentality of not giving up, of not like stepping out, and you're in this boat. You're gonna finish that. You're here. That's it. And that's what honestly gave me the powers through not only the art, but through any other like things that I've been doing in my life. And I was just like, that's I'm doing this. I cannot give up. I'm just gonna do it. And thanks to that, so like it's not black and white. It's not like oh, I wish that thing never would have happened to me. It largely contributed to my life through traumas, through yeah, like like I could. I'll share a secret with you, but I could not cry since that moment till I was 40.
Mm.
Yeah, 14 was the last time that I could cry, and I was working since I was 34. I intentionally was working on on my ability to cry because I believe ability to cry is a superpower. And I could not cry till I did psilocybin assisted therapy, and I remember that was the first time that I could cry. I gifted it to myself at the age of 40. And I was laughing with my therapist. I said to her, by that time I was like 3 years in therapy, and I was like, you know what? The moment when I'm gonna cry, I'm gonna laugh from happiness that I can cry. And that's what happened. And sorry, it was just
I
like
know
romantic
that's
step away.
no,
But I
no
think
special.
that's that it really it contributed to that, and that's what it gave me this power to be like, no, okay, no, dude, you're in this, you're gonna do this, you told that you're gonna do this, and that's what largely contributed toward to the success of the arc today.
I think that's really just paints the picture of what everything you've gone through to just to get where you are. What's next on the horizon? Like, what are you most excited about to the next chapter here?
Well, we are right in the middle of our journey of this active development and work and building and creating. So aside of anything, the arc is also like a different economical model where in our principle is shared prosperity. So from the year 2028, we're going to redistribute all profit among all residents of the arc. So, including this 25%, but the rest is going to be redistributed among people who live in the arc. So this is really excites me a lot. And during this kind of next till to get till 2028, whatever we are making as the project, we are reinvesting into making the project. So now it's the school, we're planning to have the school to expand the school to 200 kids now to 36 kids school to, but we're planning to make it 200 kids. We are opening two paddle courts and a tennis court and a pickleball courts, and it's just building a 25-meter pool. So it's it's everything that enriches our day-to-day life. And I'm really excited to finish that part, and then to show how this structure can work when people will actually start receiving financial benefits just for living in the arc. And I'm just so much looking forward to that moment when I'm gonna when we're gonna send everyone money and be just like, hey guys, that was a great year. These are your money just because you chose to live at the arc. That's gonna be the moment when I will cry again.
Right. This is not like Boca, right?
Yeah, this is not like Boca Raton. This is not like $2,000 HOA a month.
Is there a
Yeah,
time?
I would recommend July and August
Hmm.
are great months. Surprisingly, it's a mid. It's called little summer. So it's a middle of this rain season. Rain season starts in May and finishes in October. So it's these 2 months in the middle of these 6 months. It almost doesn't rain during the day. It normally rains couple times during a week at night only. Everything is incredibly green. And there are not many tourists. Prices are normally lower, so that's why I'm recommending also that time. So that it's just you can see it without tourist crowds. And of
Hmm.
course, then you go into traditional season, from December till May, whenever you want to come. It's a great time. But July, August for me personally are the best.
So okay, got that. Okay, and what is the best place for people who are listening to visit? What is the website?
Well, thearc.world. This is our
Mhm.
website, and also the Instagram handle is the same, thearc.world. And this is the best place to learn. And at the website, there is stay button, so people can choose one of our houses of our residents. And this is another thing, you're staying in truly people's houses. It's not somebody built and rents it out for Airbnb. No, people live in these houses, and whenever they're not here, we're renting them out for them. So it's also it gives this real personal touch. What Airbnb was supposed to be in the
Yeah,
when you
yeah.
really stayed in people's places.
Thank you so much for sharing everything today. I mean, obviously, you poured your heart and soul into this project, and you're finally starting to see it's been worth it.
Thank you.